You are welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Kakusa Blessings. In biology, we are revising on one of a plant's specialized cells called a guard cell. But before we move on, I would love you to subscribe to this channel and give a like to this video you are watching. Okay, so you may be asked to say, what are guard cells? So guard cells are pairs of epidermal cells that control gas diffusion by regulating the opening and closure of stomatopores. Okay, so the aim of this small lesson is to find out how the guard cells opens and closes the stomata and the adaptation of the guard cell to its function. So these guard cells have a lot of parts, which includes the epidermal cell, inner thick wall, the nucleus, stomatopore, guard cells, the vacuole, ulnar thin wall, and the chloroplast. But there are about 3 typical parts of a plant cells, which are the nucleus, the vacuole, and the chloroplast. Okay, so these guard cells functions under the process which is called transpiration. So transpiration is simply the process by which plants lose water in form of water vapor to the atmosphere. It is very important to note that as water evaporates from the sponge mesophyll layer of a leaf, that water passes or diffuses through the stomata into the atmosphere as water vapor. Okay, so following one aim of this lesson, which is saying how does the guard cells open and closes the stomata, we can describe this aim as the 2 effects of osmosis on a plant cell, namely turgidity and plasmolysis, also occurs to the guard cell. So when a guard cell is turgid, it means it has gained water. Water has been gained by a guard cell, hence making the stomatopore to be open. So when the stomatopore is opened, it will allow water vapor to diffuse out of the leaf or the leaves, yes. And when the guard cell is plasmolyzed by the process of plasmolysis, the guard cell will tend to be, the stomatopore will tend to be closed, hence no water vapor will move or will diffuse out of the leaf. Okay, so this opening and closure of stomatopore is also affected by one effect that affects transpiration, which is light intensity. So during the day, the guard cells will try to gain water. So by trying to gain water, these guard cells will also open up the stomatopore, as a result making the water vapor to move out of the leaves. And during at night, these guard cells will be closed, will lose water, will start losing water, hence no water vapor will be lost to the atmosphere. So we move on to the adaptations of these guard cells. So one adaptation is as the guard cells occur in pairs and each cell has a caved shape when turgid. So when a guard cell is turgid, it has a caved shape and a straight shape when plasmolyzed. So when it is plasmolyzed, it won't make the loss of water vapor. So the shape will be straight. The shape of the guard cell will be straight. And the other adaptation is just as The cell walls are thicker around the stomata. This makes it possible for the stomata to open when these cells absorb water. Okay, so I have some questions on this same small lesson. Okay, so the first question was adapted from 2015 paper 2 past paper, biology past paper. Okay, so the first question reads, figure 1.1 and figure 1.2 show the structure of specialized cells in plants. Figure 1.1 and figure 1.2 show the structure of specialized cells in plants. Okay, so we have got these two figures, figure 1.1 and figure 1.2. So before you answer any question about these two figures, it is very important to analyze these two diagrams we have. After analyzing, we can go to the given questions. So the first question is saying, identify the cells labeled A and B. Identify the cells labeled A and B. So the cell labeled A, we can call this as the cell wall. So this is the cell wall. And the cell labeled B is the guard cell. This is specifically the guard cell, one pair of a guard cell. One of the guard cell, yes. We move on to question A, Roman numeral 2. Identify the parts labeled C and D. Identify the parts labeled C and D. So the part labeled C is the chloroplast. Since these guard cells are found in a leaf needs light intensity, which is absorbed in the chloroplast. Those chloroplasts contains chlorophyll needed for photosynthesis. So the part labeled C is the chloroplast. And the part labeled D is the epidermal cell. Okay. Question B, Roman numeral 1 is saying, which figure shows a closed stomata? Which figure shows a closed stomata? So between figure 1.1 and figure 1.2, which one shows a closed stomata? So if you are able to look clearly on these two diagrams, you can be able to tell that figure 1.1 is a closed, shows a closed stomata, a closed stoma rather. Okay. So the other question 2 is saying, explain how the opening of a stoma is brought about. Explain how the opening of a stoma is brought about. So changes in turgidity of the guard cells leads to opening and closing of stomata. Okay. So when, like I said earlier on, during the day, the guard cells will tend to gain water, hence making the stomatopore to be open. But during or rather at night, yes, at night, the guard cells will start losing water, hence making the stomatopore to be closed. So you can give that simple explanation. The other question 2 is saying, the diagram below shows a specialized cell obtained from a plant. The diagram below shows a specialized cell obtained from a plant. Okay, suggest the name of the cell shown in the diagram above. Suggest the name of the cell shown in the diagram above. So the name of this diagram, this cell, is a guard cell. Okay. B is saying label the parts B, C, and E. Label the parts B, C, and E. So the part B is the stomatopore. S-T-O-M-A-T-A-L. Stomatopore is B. And C is the nucleus, while E is the chloroplast. C is saying which two parts shown on the diagram are typical of a plant cell? Which two parts shown on the diagram are typical of plant cells? Okay, so the nucleus is one part typical of a plant cell. The chloroplast and these guard cells have also vacuoles. Those are typical parts of plant cells. Okay, we move on to D. Name the paired structure found in C. Name the paired structure found in C. So the labeled part C is the nucleus. So the paired structures found in C are chromosomes. So a nucleus contains chromosomes inside, and those chromosomes are paired. E is saying state the function of the cell above. State the function of the cell above. So the function of the guard cell is to open and close the stomatopores during the loss of water in form of water vapor. Okay.